Hi, I'm Nanice. The following has been electronically recorded for easy listening. If you enjoy this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And you can also find me on my website at nanice.com. Enjoy.
Are we programmed to be depressed? By Nanice Ellis. It is said that we are now living in the era of enlightenment. We are beginning to wake up and take responsibility for our lives through the power of mind, the law of attraction, and many other spiritual advancements. It's an exciting time to be alive, but none of this is new information. Most of what we know today, about creating our reality, was actually coming to light in the early 1900s. This is when quantum physics first made its debut, and we were learning about the power of mental science through brilliant writers, scientists, and philosophers such as Charles Haanel and many others. The 1920s was a very exciting time. It was a time of dance and celebration. It was a time of new thought, and that new thought was beginning to fill the minds of the masses. People were waking up and becoming empowered. They were learning that life responds to their thoughts and emotions, and if they change their thinking, life will follow. It was a brilliant time to be alive. If we had continued on this path, without interruption, where might we be today? But, of course, that it is not what happened. The new age of the early 1900s was harshly interrupted by the Great Depression. Many historical researchers agree that those who run the world control the economic system in such a way that the Great Depression was calculated to redistribute more wealth and power to the wealthy and powerful. But maybe, the Great Depression served more than one purpose. Maybe the Great Depression was also intended to repress the masses. It is not in the best interest of the elite to allow the masses to wake up and get empowered. In a world of hierarchy, those on top need those on the bottom to stay on the bottom. If the masses were to wake up to their power as creators and reclaim their abundance through use of their inner mental powers and understanding of how the universe works, then the hierarchy would fall and those on top would have to relinquish their position. The elite had a big investment in keeping the masses asleep. So when people began to wake up in the early 1900s, the elite needed a solution that would alter the minds of the people. It had to be something that would undermine the security of the working class and bring them to their knees. It had to be something that would repress the knowledge and wipe out the idea of personal power. It had to be something that would keep the masses asleep indefinitely. It had to be big enough to create a Great Depression, and in plain sight, it would be called by that name. The Great Depression was precisely designed to invoke immense fear, worry, and stress in order to create an intentional epidemic of mental depression that would suppress the potential empowerment of the masses. Let's face it, you cannot think about being a creator of your life when your survival is at risk. The Great Depression stole people's lives, their jobs, their homes, their identities, their resources. It left families begging for food and living in boxes on the streets. When your survival is at risk, you can only focus on survival. If you are starving, the only thing you are thinking about is food. If you are freezing, the only thing that you are thinking about is warmth. If you are homeless, the only thing that you are thinking about is shelter. Your basic needs must be met before you can think about more sophisticated ideas, such as self-empowerment and creating your own reality. Have you ever tried to speak with homeless people about the law of attraction? They cannot hear you, because they are focused on basic needs. We only start thinking about growth and personal development when we have at least a certain level of safety and security. The Great Depression single-handedly knocked out the sense of safety and security from everyone. Even those who were not starving and homeless, emotionally suffered in the same way, because if it could happen to their neighbors, it could happen to them. You didn't have to be starving and homeless to have the same fears as someone in those circumstances. In fact, if you still have something to lose, you might even have more fear. Post-traumatic stress disorder. The Great Depression hit most people by complete surprise, as it was intended, so it took away any future sense of security, as well. If it could happen so abruptly once, it could happen again. This left those who lived through the Great Depression in a perpetual state of fear and worry, far beyond the actual end of the Great Depression. Fear and worry are proactive responses so that you are not caught off guard if something devastating were to happen. This is a form of post-traumatic stress disorder. When someone comes back from war, for example, they might dive under the table if a car backfires. The original trauma gets stored in the person's subconscious mind so that they are constantly on guard in order to protect themselves from danger. The Great Depression did exactly this. The scars of the Great Depression ran so deep that most people lived with the equivalent of post-traumatic stress disorder for the rest of their lives. The Great Depression was almost 100 years ago, so what does it have to do with us now? This is where it gets really interesting. The Great Depression wasn't just intended to depress and repress the masses at the time of the Great Depression, it was strategically designed to have long-term effects that would be passed down generation after generation. The Great Depression was a brilliantly dark plan to keep humanity asleep for a very long time. If you grew up in a home with parents who lived through the Great Depression, they likely exhibited fear-based beliefs and behaviors of scarcity. Since we imitate our parents, we pick up those very same beliefs and behaviors through nurture, and unknowingly pass them down to our children, as well. But, it goes even deeper than that. The worry, fear and negative energy of the Great Depression got embedded in our parents' or grandparents' DNA, like a virus-infected program gets embedded in a computer. That fear-based program then got passed down to you and me, and may still be active in our DNA. The Depression Program. It is no secret that we live in a society of depressed people. Many people are depressed and don't even know it because it seems like the norm. We have been blaming depression on so many things, but what if we are depressed because we are programmed to be depressed? What if we are depressed because it is in our DNA? A negative program, such as the Depression Program, is created through the repetition of fear-based beliefs that are continuously reinforced by physical reality. The Great Depression engineered continuous fear that resulted in fear-based beliefs about life, and those beliefs were supported by actual events for an extended period of time without knowing when, or if, it would end. When beliefs and reality continuously loop to reflect each other, an automatic internal program results. The Depression Program manifests in low self-worth, not trusting oneself or others, underlying anxiety, bouts of fear for no reason, panic attacks, phobias, constantly being on guard, looking for problems before they begin, inability to let go, dependence on others for security, fear of not enough, hoarding, blindly following others and not thinking for oneself. The foundation of the Depression Program is various levels of fear that include stress and anxiety. When we are in fear, we are unconscious. It is not possible to consciously create from an unconscious state, therefore, we accept and react to everything that comes our way, further perpetuating the fear state. When you are not conscious, you have no control over your most valuable resource, your mind, and therefore no power to change your reality, which is exactly the purpose of the Depression Program, to keep us asleep and enslaved in a dysfunctional reality that does not support human growth, potential and spiritual evolution. You cannot be depressed and empowered at the same time. Yes, many spiritual teachers are showing us how to create our reality, but if you are chronically depressed, you can only create from a low vibration, and therefore you create a low vibration reality. In this way, using the law of attraction actually works against us in creating more of what we do not want and keeping us entrapped in a dense fear-based reality where we are imprisoned by our own minds. So, even though empowered information is once again coming to the forefront, most of us are too depressed to be able to use it positively and effectively. Afraid to feel good. The thing is, we are not just depressed. Many of us are afraid to feel good, which only adds to depression. Many people fear that when good things happen, something bad will result. Where does this unnatural feeling come from? Remember, just before the Great Depression abruptly hit, people were generally happy and beginning to feel like they could live abundant lives. They were waking up to the beauty of life and the power that they possess, and bam, out of nowhere that joy and happiness was wiped out. When something like this happens, the mind tries to find meaning and patterns to the experience, so it can protect itself in the future. In this case, the mind reasoned that it was dangerous to feel good, and as a protection the belief if I feel too good, something bad will happen was embedded in our DNA. So every time we start to feel really good, our subconscious minds warn us that something bad is lurking, so we better not feel that good. This means that every time we feel good, we will have fear that something bad will happen. We then back off from whatever is making us feel good. This may, in fact, be what we have been referring to as the fear of success. If I am successful, something bad will happen, so I better not be successful. Once again, keeping us depressed and disempowered. I want to be clear that this article is not about victimhood or blame, but rather about awareness and self-empowerment. If we can understand where our power went, we can understand how best to take it back. Deprogramming from depression. Whether or not the Great Depression caused an intentional epidemic of mental depression or it was just a byproduct, many of us are still very much affected by this historic event. It doesn't matter where it came from as much as it matters that we recognize that the depression program exists in our DNA, and this program must be turned off, so that we can wake up and live the abundant, happy and successful lives that are our natural birthright. Since fear and worry caused the mental depression of the Great Depression, it makes sense that we must release fear and worry in order to turn off the program. The program cannot run without being fed fear-based thoughts and ideas. Therefore, the key to turning off the program is releasing all fear-based thoughts and beliefs. Without being fueled by fear, the depression program has nothing to run on, and will naturally turn off. This is the point. You can also turn off the depression program by rising above it. Depression exists at a low level of vibration. In order to experience depression, we must vibrate at that same low level. Once you raise your vibration to a level higher than that of depression, the program cannot run. Once again, this means turning away from fear and worry, and moving toward love. Your job, if you should choose to accept it, is to turn off the depression program in yourself by releasing fear and worry and embracing love. As you release fear and turn to love, your DNA transforms, not only altering the DNA of future offspring, but also affecting the DNA of past generations. In rising above depression, you reclaim your mind and your ability to focus on creating the life you most desire. From a conscious state, you think for yourself, and you can trust yourself to manifest for the highest good of all. You know your worth and you generously support the worth of those around you. You are empowered to dream big as you confidently take actions based on those dreams. From this exalted place, your world unfolds in joy, harmony and abundance for all, because it could be no other way. You have all the power, here and now.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Thank you.